Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts, and I'm excited to introduce you to a new podcast series in partnership with Lord Fairfax Community College. Having provided higher education and career training for the past half-century, LFCC is tightly interwoven into the fabric of the Northern Shenandoah Valley and Piedmont regions. Join me every week for conversations with current and former students to hear their funny and inspiring stories as we learn about their journey to higher education, the role that LFCC has played, where they are now, and where they plan to go. We'll also talk to current and former professors about their experiences and best memories of LFCC over the past 50 years. Get every single episode as they're released on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for LFCC Stories. Hello and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Thursday as you are listening to the show today. One of my favorite new regulars is joining me on the Zoom screen to pre-record. Bonnie Zampino is with me today. She is the Workforce Services Director with the Shenandoah Valley Workforce Development Board that is a partner of Virginia CareerWorks. Did I get that right, Bonnie?
You know, that's as close as probably anybody's ever going to get it. Shenandoah Valley Workforce Development Board, which is the board that receives the funding that enables the programs that happen out of Virginia CareerWorks. It's all very complicated.
Scott Carlson is here with us. He is the Employer Network Director, and he's with Bonnie, is how I'm going to introduce Scott. That makes it a whole lot easier. I've got a familiar face as well on the screen with me today. Larry Baker is here. He is the Corporate Training Sales Manager for Workforce Solutions. Of course, you listen to Guy and I talk every other month. Coressa Hubbard is going to be joining us. She is the Young Adult Specialist at Virginia CareerWorks. And we've got Lyle Schiavone. He is a partner with Outlier. And I'm going to start with you, Lyle, because Bonnie tells me that the program that we're going to talk about, this facility maintenance training program, was kind of your brainchild. So give me the background on what it is and how you came up with it.
Sure. Thank you, Janet. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here. We have an awesome team, and thank you for hosting us. So Outlier is a real estate investment firm. We're based in Washington, D.C., and one of the main things we do is we've been buying and managing workforce housing apartment communities across Virginia and Maryland. And today we have about 1,200 units across Virginia and Maryland across 16 different properties. Our specialty is buying typically older properties and trying to improve them, but still maintain a market rate affordability for folks that work, working class wages. And that's our mission. And through that, obviously buying older buildings, there's a lot of challenges and a lot of upkeep in terms of maintaining older buildings. And something that we started to realize really about a year ago was we had a really hard time finding maintenance technicians that wanted to come work at our properties. And in Winchester in particular, we posted for a maintenance technician job in January of 2020. And in December of 2020, after asking our local property management team every month, how the search was coming, it was still an open position. They had interviewed a few folks. There just wasn't the right fit. There was no qualified applications. You name it. I think ultimately there were not people actively looking for that job. We had been working with Bob Bolter, who's an incredible gentleman who has a nonprofit called FaithWorks in Winchester, and he was a former Jubilee housing guy. And truthfully, I kind of came up with this idea to say, hey, why don't we just start asking around to see if there's a way to partner with folks to create a training program to try and develop a pipeline of candidates to be maintenance technicians? Because I think not only was I experiencing this problem, when I spoke to other apartment owners or other property management companies, everybody had the same complaint. They just simply couldn't find people that wanted to work in the maintenance technician jobs, and there was no qualified applications. So this was a widespread problem, not just in Winchester. We have properties in Virginia Beach. We have properties in Maryland. We were having the same problem all over the Mid-Atlantic, and we were hearing this from other people just like us. So that's kind of how the idea first came to be. We've always learned we make a lot of mistakes and we know what we're good at, and trying to do something like this alone is absolutely out of our ability. So we just started asking whoever would listen to us, hey, we have this idea. We have no idea how to do it. Will you make an introduction? And ultimately, that led me to Bonnie and her exceptional team and Larry. And here we are on the show.
So Bonnie, what happens when you get this call from Lyle and says, hey, I'd really like to create this training program? I'm sure you did a few cartwheels and thought, oh my gosh, we can totally make this happen. But what is the next first step?
Yeah, it was such an interesting first call that I had with Outlier, with Lyle and Pet, and loved their concepts, but they were kind of trying to figure out, we know we want to do something, we just don't know what that something is or where we would do it. And I was like, I think I do know how to do this, and got super excited and called Larry at Workforce Solutions at LFCC and said, have you ever done a building maintenance technician curriculum before? I have this vision of building a pipeline and focusing on what we consider to be opportunity youth, individuals that are out of high school, not really pursuing anything much more than that as far as higher education, who have encountered things in their life that kind of make it harder for them to find employment or maintain employment. Things like being homeless or having been orphaned and being in foster care, even something which is not a sad thing at all. Somebody who's under the age of 24 and is married and has a family, they're considered an individual who could potentially have a barrier to employment. So there are these young adults who maybe know that higher education isn't for them, that don't really know what is. And I thought, you know what, if we can tap into that population and start building that next level of the workforce, this could be something really, really cool. So I called Larry and he got back with me, and he can pick up at this point if he wants to continue that story.
And Larry, you probably were thinking through that conversation, oh yeah, we got this. We do this for a dozen different types of trades like professions. This isn't going to be reinventing the wheel for you guys at LFCC Workforce.
Oh, you're absolutely right. We offered this class a number of years ago, but after we started talking with Outlier and their maintenance technician, realized that it was not as highly skilled. They weren't looking for the highly skilled trades as we had provided in the past, which meant this doesn't have to be 120 hours. We knocked it down to 44 hours, which again is something that these students or these employees would actually do. They would need some basic skills. So once we worked with Lyle, saw some of their work orders that were open. Once we talked to the maintenance tech there, we identified some basic trade skills that they would need, which would include electrical, plumbing, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, some other carpentry, and other related items that, again, would be the basic skills that they would need to be successful.
And then Scott, you kind of come in on the final end of it, because while this was something that started with Lyle at Outlier, there are going to be more kids in this program than I'm guessing Outlier can actually employ. So you're looking at all of the other people in our area that have the same kind of job needs, but don't have the people to be able to fill those spots.
That's right. And over the last 3.5 years, I was working for Shenandoah Valley Workforce Development Board with a Department of Labor grant for expanding trade and technical occupations and expanding apprenticeship opportunities. So my background years ago was in the trades, was in the building occupations. And so I have a connection with a lot of employers in the area already from that experience over the past 3.5 years. So as I transitioned into the role that I'm in now, I've already got that relationship with many of the employers. And so as we've kind of been laying out the groundwork for launching this program, I've been looking at employers in the area that have available positions that they need to fill in this field. And just yesterday alone, over 20 employers I see have current ads for building maintenance. And most of those are entry level, which fits in perfectly with this program, because I think the opportunity for growth in this field for individuals that complete this entry-level program is great, because there definitely is a much higher skill set that they can ultimately work towards. But this is where most of the positions that are currently available that I'm seeing is in that entry level. Having a good understanding of the basics of those skill sets in electrical, plumbing, and carpentry, HVAC, that type of thing.
I wish my husband would just take that class so he could fix things around the house, but we're not going to, that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother show on another day. And Larry, I would imagine this is one of those things. Guy and I talk a lot about other certifications and stackable things. Scott touched on this. You get in the door in this program and get a job. You guys have tons of things that they can add on and become specialists in any one of those areas, all of those areas. And in a lot of cases, employers will help pay for them to continue that education and certification. So this really is a giant leap that's disguised as a first little step.
Absolutely, you nailed it right on. And that this gives them an opportunity to get their toes in the water and see what skills they like. Perhaps could be that they want to pursue HVAC. And we do have an apprenticeship program, levels 1 through 4, that they can pursue. And the unique part of that is they could still stay within this job classification, you might say, with a company like Outlier that could then take on, once they get those skills in HVAC, could take on some of those higher level jobs or higher level techniques that they need in order to fix the HVAC, rather than calling upon another outside vendor. So it could certainly save the company money by them getting these higher skills. And the unique part of that is both the employer and the employee. There is a fast forward grant that's from the state that will pay 66% of the cost of that tuition. So it's not a financial burden on either of those parties to progress their skills.
And Lyle, I think sometimes people forget too, this isn't just a trades position, because you mentioned you guys have several buildings. So you could start off in this particular technician position, but then maybe you're head of the other technicians in a building. And then maybe you're head of 3 buildings in Virginia and then the tri-state area. There's ways to even get into management if that's where your passion ends up going.
That's exactly right. And to piggyback off what Scott and Larry said, even just to start in terms of thinking about growth at the property level, we often do look for folks that have other certifications like HVAC, electricity, and plumbing. And with that is commensurate with a higher wage, even at that level. It was really Bonnie that said, Lyle, you don't understand, this is actually potentially a really great job for someone, like a first job. And then you start thinking about the growth opportunities, even just for kind of sustainability and kind of general like life in terms of their wage growth. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, I didn't even get into that, but we have multiple needs at the maintenance superintendent level that's at the regional level. And then there is another level that we do actually have a property management company that employs someone that is for the entire state of Virginia. So you can really work your way all the way up in terms of construction management, project management, maintenance supervision, overseeing entire projects, different communities. And we have tremendous needs at all of those levels. I think that's why it starts with these introductory program, because we really need to kind of develop a pipeline of candidates that are eager to learn this industry and work their way up. Because you can't just pick someone out of a field and say, hey, I need you to be a maintenance supervisor, but you need to get the experience, get the training, and it just doesn't happen overnight.
40 some odd hours. That's where you start.
You start there. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think Larry made a great point just to talk about how we all came together. Larry came to me and said, hey, Lyle, can I get a better sense of what the work orders are? What should the curriculum be? And I just went into our system and I pulled like 200 open work orders. And I just said, here you go. Here is literally, these are the maintenance requests from 5 communities, like have at it. And I think that was where this kind of started to go. We're like, wow, this is really awesome how this comes together.
Well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, can we talk about the actual program? So I want to kind of get in the weeds a little bit about how long is it? What kind of costs are we looking at? Because it's a work study program. So this is going to be unique too, in that the people that are selected for this are going to get paid for working while they're learning, which doesn't happen since my days in high school. So I'm glad that work study is having a moment as we're coming into 2021. So can we talk about all that in the next segment?
We would love to.
When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation. We are talking today about a facilities maintenance training program that came to be because of one of my guests on the screen today, Lyle Schiavone. He is a partner in Outlier. Bonnie Zampino, Scott Carlson are both here, as well as Coressa Hubbard from Virginia Career Works. Larry Baker is here with us from LFCC Workforce Solutions. We're going to talk about this program and how you can get your kid, your son, your daughter, your cousin, your nephew, your niece, anybody that you know that's going to fit into these parameters, get them signed up for this program when we come back. So hang out for just a couple of more minutes.
Got a financial decision to make or a goal to reach, but you don't know where to start? You've come to the right place. Introducing Quick Money Chats with the Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program. Visit tinyurl.com/Quick Money Chat to schedule a virtual chat with a staff member or trained volunteer. We won't tell you what to do, but we will give you the tools you need to choose wisely. And because Virginia Cooperative Extension is part of Virginia Tech and Virginia State, your land-grant universities, you can be sure that our information is credible and trustworthy. And you'll know that we aren't trying to sell you something. Maybe you want to improve your credit score, or reduce your banking overdraft fees, or even figure out if you can afford to buy that car. Sorting through tons of information on the internet can be overwhelming, and sometimes it can be hard to know who to trust. Schedule a Quick Money Chat and get the information you need to take action. Go to tinyurl.com/Quick Money Chat and get financial education personalized for you.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Thursday. As you are listening to the show today, we are pre-recording our conversation with Bonnie Zampino. She is joined by Coressa Hubbard. They are both with Virginia Career Works. We lost Scott during the break. He's going out to find some kids some jobs. He's going out to connect some people together. So I'm excited about that. Larry Baker is also on the screen with us. He is the corporate training sales manager for LFCC Workforce Solutions. Lyle Schiavone is here. He is a partner with Outlier. He kind of got this whole program in the mix. Bonnie, give me the Cliff Notes version of what exactly is involved in getting in this program itself.
Yeah, this is a unique and kind of an innovative approach that I don't really think has been done quite this way before. And so we're launching it as a pilot. It's very exclusive as far as you have to really want this to get into this, because we really want to try to then replicate this in other industries and other areas as a way to grow a talent pipeline that employers are in desperate need of. So the way that this is working is that through our WIOA funding for our out-of-school youth program, we are able to, first of all, pay for the 44 hours of classroom instruction that is going to be provided by Workforce Solutions and their instructor. We are also able to pay for each student while they're in class. So while they're sitting in a classroom for 12 hours a week, they are getting paid for that. So 2 days a week, students will be in the classroom. The classroom is actually at the apartment complex, because it's in the city and it's accessible by public transportation. So nothing wrong with getting to LFCC, but if you don't have transportation, that can be a real barrier. 3 days a week, the students will actually be on a work site, and we have 5 organizations in the Winchester area who are hosting a student in their facilities maintenance department, and they will be interning and learning on the job how to put into action the things that they're learning while they're sitting in the classroom. And they're being paid for that as well. So we're providing the class, pay for all the life skill development that Coressa is going to tell you about in a minute, pay for while they're sitting in class, pay while they're on the work site, providing uniforms, and at the end, providing as well interviews with probably 6 or more employers who have active openings for these positions. And our anticipation is that all 6 of the participants will start class on June 21st, start working that week. And by the end, all 6 of them should have a job offer in their hand. And we're talking jobs that are paying $15 to $17 an hour or more. So entry level looks a lot different today than it did when I was entry level. We're not going to talk about how long ago that was. So this is really unique in that it is very condensed. It's going to go fast. They are going to get that hands-on experience and those certifications, getting paid the whole time and walking out of this with a good paying career.
Is there a time frame for when people can register? As people are listening to this on Thursday, June 3rd, is that open right now? Where would people go to start that process, to make that application?
We would love for people to apply now because we are probably going to do this again in the fall. So probably best to get a hold of Coressa. Her email address is chubbard, HUBBARD, @vcwvalley.com. We do have an application that's available. We can get that out to people. And we really foresee this as being a model that is implemented more and more. So we would love people to apply. They might not get into the one that's starting on June 21st, but they could be getting into the one that's starting sometime in late August, early September.
Yeah, the promise of being on a list and getting into the program is better than not having any idea what you're going to do in 3 months or 6 months. So it's still a great option, even if you don't make the cut for these first 6 spots.
Correct. And we definitely want to talk to people about the opportunity to make it into these first 6 slots. We would be working very diligently to get another program running as quickly as possible.
Coressa, Lyle was talking during the break about all of the work that you have done working with these young adults to get them ready for interview processes, to understanding what's involved in joining the workforce in the trades environment. Bonnie touched at the top of the show on just the different types of people that this program is targeting. I do shows on a regular basis with United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley, and I know that a huge population in Winchester, Frederick County are considered Alice populations. This is kind of who you're targeting because they're people who maybe were raised in a family that had 2 or 3 jobs and high school was the best they could get through. And now they got to figure out, now what do I do? These are the kinds of people that you're looking for to fill these spots.
You're absolutely correct. So we do a very extensive interview process, and we kind of get into the weeds with them. And so during that conversation, we can figure out which way they want to go and create a map to their goal. But we find out a lot of information, and we allow them to also learn about themselves and what we call the generational curse and how to break that. So you said something about the first step previously, and you are absolutely correct. It's not only the first step to a career, but it's also a first step to life-changing events that they would have never thought they could be at.
And that they have control over. And I think sometimes we think that, oh no, this is just how my dad did it. This is how my grandfather did it. But any of us, even in my generation, Bonnie joked about not getting into how old we actually are. My dad quit high school in 9th grade because he had to get a job to support his family. Those are just some of the things that we grew up believing, but that's not the world that we live in nowadays.
No, there's so many options, and it's really letting them feel it, see it, taste it, smell it, and get those thoughts and creations going so that they know that they can go further than they've ever thought before. And this program is exactly what that's going to do. It's going to provide a decent living so that they can get an apartment. So if they were homeless, they can now afford a place to live. If they have children at a young age, it's giving them the stability to build a strong structure for their children and so on. And it's an amazing program to be a part of. We really do a very extensive assessment. And we also go from everything from behaviors and stress and how to clock in, how to clock out. Number 1 goal, stay off your phone. when you're at work, those type of things. So by the time they get to the classroom for the program and they get to the work sites, they're already prepared. They've already had those difficult conversations and know what the expectations are.
I think so many of my generation assume those soft skills are just something that kids should know. They don't remember how we learned them and how we were raised and how different it was then, that now they kind of have to understand. We didn't have phones. So
Right.
how would anybody have taught me to stay off my phone on the job when I was in high school? Because, there were no cell phones. That's how old I am. These are important things that have to be thought about now that didn't have to be thought about 15, 20 years ago.
Yes. So the way that we're going to do it is they go to their work site, they do the life skills first. And then they'll go to the classroom and the work site. And then once they're done that, which I think will be July the 12th, they'll then come back to me and we'll go over resume writing, interview skills, mock interviews, and how to present yourself and leave a mark so that they'll remember who you are.
And Larry, I joked earlier about work study having a moment. Quite frankly, the trades are having a moment. It may be one of the silver linings that come out of this pandemic, is that people have realized trades are important jobs. They didn't used to be. Working in a factory used to not be the greatest thing. And now those are great jobs to get and great jobs to grow in.
No, absolutely. The opportunities in all of these areas, if you mentioned not only the building trades, but even in manufacturing, it's not your grandfather's or even your father's workplace anymore. Most of for example, in Winchester, a lot of the manufacturers, they're clean, well organized, great places to work. If you come home dirty, there was something really bad that occurred. And the growth, as Lyle mentioned, in our area, not only again in manufacturing, but in construction and so forth, the progression into other higher level jobs is tremendous. You do your job, you get your skills, and who knows what progression you can take into those organizations. And they're in high need. What we're all experiencing, from what I've been hearing with companies, even the entry level jobs, but even the higher technical jobs are in great need. And there's a great opportunity for people to pursue those.
It's funny you say that. Sally Michaels with the Frederick County EDA does a show with me every couple of months. And I told her once that when I was little, my dad worked at Crown Cork and Seal. And she goes, "Oh, I'm so going to get you a tour of what that place looks like now so that you can show your dad pictures, because he will just be shocked at how far it has come." And I think that's the important thing that people need to realize to knock that misconception out of their minds.
Well, especially that place there. And what we're seeing in other companies too is they have a number of robots that are doing a lot of the manual labor, which you think, okay, what happened to manual labor? Well, I need someone to program and maintain those robots. And that's a higher level skill level that people will need. And hey, we got classes for that. So and all the other companies basically are moving in that direction as well.
So, Coressa, when somebody is making this application for this particular program, you're doing such an in-depth conversation with them and getting into the weeds about what they want to do moving forward. I'm guessing you have other options. So even if this program isn't a good program for them, or the 6 slots fill up quickly, the information that they're getting from you, they're still going to be able to work with you and find another path, right?
Yes. So I have the saying, I don't let anybody leave my office without having the connections and the resources to fulfill their needs. We have a thing in our office that we say, if their basic needs aren't being met, they can't achieve anything else. So that's our number one goal, is to make sure those needs are met. After that, we will then go from wherever they want to go. They can tell me what they want to do. And it could be something that they would think would be just a simplistic thing. And I can tell them how it becomes a business. So where you're just looking at, okay, I'm gonna get this certification and work for somebody else, you could actually start growing your own business, which completely sets that stage for your family, the generational wealth. So you go from a generational curse to the generational wealth. And how do you get there? And a lot of times we find with the young adults, it's not that they don't want to, they don't have that guidance. They don't have somebody to tell them, okay, you're at A, now let's go to B. Okay, B didn't work out, but then you have C and D. And so that's exactly what we do in this office with all of them. No one ever leaves here feeling defeated, because we know how that feels. So we try to avoid that as much as possible.
And we have funding to allow people, maybe building maintenance really isn't their dream, but maybe another trade is, or healthcare or IT. We have funding to help with the 33% of the fast forward if they need that. We have funding to get people an internship that we pay them for. So it could be somebody who has always been interested in computers. Well, guess what? Maybe they'll go to work for one of the local employers that has an IT need, and they get to do hands-on stuff, and we pay them to do that. So there's always other options, just depending on what the person wants to do with their life.
So, Lyle, we've got to wrap up in another minute or so. And I'm curious because you sat for a year trying to fill a position that couldn't be filled. When did you reach out to Bonnie?
So I think it was February.
So
Yeah,
here we sit now, and you're probably going to have somebody for that position by the end of this month.
Yeah, we're super
5
excited.
other people are going to now have somebody in a position, and 5 other kids, I say, are going to have jobs. All because you thought, come on, we've got to be able to do this on a larger scale. Help us a little, but help the community a lot.
Totally. And I already have people texting me, other folks that own buildings, saying, hey, when are we having interviews? When are they ready? I have a need now. And the joke we make is we met Bonnie on a Zoom call in February, and I was texting, as we shouldn't be on our phones. I texted my partner, Petch, we found Bonnie, this is going to happen. And we're both kind of like laughing on the Zoom. And Bonnie's like, are you guys texting? You can't get anything by Bonnie. So I think from that moment, like mid-February, we were like, oh man, like this actually could happen. So yes, exactly.
So, Bonnie, I want to wrap up with somebody who's listening to Lyle's story right now, and maybe they're in refrigeration, maybe they're in an office position, and they need people to be able to answer the phones, frontline customer service, and they want to reach out to you and say, hey, I want a program like the one Lyle came to you with. How do they do that? Is it as simple as Lyle made it sound, that he just gets on the Zoom with you and it just suddenly happens?
I'm like the Wizard of Oz, who behind the curtain is doing all kinds of crazy things, along with Coressa and Scott and the rest of the team. But yes, I think that we have a roadmap now that makes sense and it works. And we can absolutely, whether it's a one-person internship or whether it's a different pilot like this, we have the roadmap to make this happen. So all they would need to do is reach out to me. It's Zampino, Zampino at vcwvalley.com, and I will do my best. And Coressa for sure will find some amazing young people. And I would tell you, one of the most exciting parts about this whole thing happened this morning when I woke up at 5:15 and thought, you know what? We need graduation caps. And so 6 graduation caps were ordered today, navy blue to match the uniform. And 6 students are going to walk and get a certificate and get a diploma and wear a graduation cap and graduate on July 30th. And that just gives me goosebumps.
We are going to wrap up our conversation today. Everything that we talked about, I've got links, I've got PDFs of the brochure, I've got an overview of the classes, I have the flyer. Bonnie's going to send me the link to the application, email addresses for Coressa, email addresses for Bonnie. Everything will be on the show notes page. If you head over to theriver953.com and click on the podcast tab, you will find all of that there. So thank you guys so much for taking some time out of your day to meet up with me and tell me about this awesome program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Janet.
I will be back tomorrow. I have not yet recorded tomorrow's show, but tomorrow is National Donut Day. So I am in search of a donut shop. So tomorrow, a few minutes after noon, you will get to find which one I found. Meet me back here then.